Credit card companies have one main goal in mind, and it is not always in your best interest. The first thing credit card companies do not want you to know is just because they tell you you are pre-approved for a certain card does not mean you will be approved for that card. I have seen so many people receive offers in the mail directly from these credit card companies, or see offers when they log into their account just to decide to apply for that card and be denied. Pre-approval is a very surface level process that happens when a company does a soft pull on your credit report. Based on this soft pull that they did, you may qualify for the card, but when you actually apply and they do a hard pull and they dive deeper into your credit report, they may see things that they do not like, such as missed payments, high balances, or too many recent inquiries. And then they decide they no longer want to approve you for the card and you're denied, and by that time you already have a hard inquiry on your credit report for a card that you really had no chance of being approved for in the first place. I always recommend making sure your credit profile is in order before you apply for a new card. This looks like making sure your cards are completely paid off or your balances are as low as possible, making sure you don't have any recent late payments, making sure you haven't applied for any new cards in the last 3 months. Just make sure you're on your best behavior. If you have Credit Karma and applied for a credit card based on their pre-approval tool or recommendation, you may be entitled to receive a piece of the $3 million settlement. You have until March 4th, 2024 to submit your claim. The FTC is sending notices to the people who are eligible for payment. The second thing credit card companies do not want you to know is that some of the terms on your credit card are negotiable. For example, if your payment is due on the 15th and you forgot to pay it and it is now the 16th, you can either text or call customer service, and a lot of the time, depending on your history with them, if you have never missed a payment before, they will waive that fee. So even if you do miss your payment and you are late, you do not have to pay a late fee. And sometimes these fees are around $35 or higher. If you are carrying a balance on one of your cards, you can work with a credit card company to temporarily lower your interest rate. I know that Amex has promotions where sometimes they can lower your interest rate for 12 months. Capital One is the one company where it's not impossible for them to lower your interest rate, but it's significantly more difficult than with the other companies. Amex, as well as other credit card companies, also have programs where if you are actively working on trying to pay your credit cards down or off, they can put you in a payment plan where they will lower your interest rate, sometimes even cut your interest rate by half. But the only catch is that you will not be able to use that card until you completely pay it off. And honestly, if you're someone that's struggling with not just paying down your debt, but overspending, this is a great option because sometimes with credit cards, you can pay your balance down and then end up right back in debt because you have not addressed the real problem, which is your overspending. So not being able to use the card until you pay it off is a great option. I think this is one of the reasons why Amex is one of the best credit card companies out there, because not only is their customer service amazing, but they are always willing to work with you no matter where you are, no matter what kind of situation you're in. If you're struggling, if you're doing well, they tend to stick by their people most times, unless you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing. But again, that's going to be on you. I think American Express is number one. If you are looking to cancel your card or you're thinking about canceling your card, you can call and speak to the company's retention department. Every company has a retention department that is dedicated to prevent people from canceling their cards. So to do this or achieve this goal, sometimes they give customers special offers to keep their accounts open. For example, with American Express, if you're looking to cancel your card, sometimes you can get an extra 30,000 bonus points by spending $3,000 in 3 months. I just got a retention offer on my Amex Gold card, which I'm going to make a video about soon because it took me a little while to get it, so stay tuned for that. Even if you do not plan on canceling your card or you're just on the fence and not really sure, you can always call or message customer service to see what offers are available for you. The third thing they do not want you to know is that sometimes a lot of the offers that they give to you or push to you are not in your best interest. And this is the most accurate in cards that earn points. I just checked my Amex account today and saw that I had an offer for gift cards. If we take a closer look at this, we can see that it normally costs 7,143 points for a $50 gift card. With the promotion, it will cost 5,714 points. So for nearly 6,000 points, you can get $50 to spend with Delta. If we go to the Delta website and assume you have a SkyMiles card and get the 15% discount, you can see that a one-way flight is 7,200 points, and this flight is worth $109. So you get a little bit more bang for your buck if you transfer your points to a transfer partner. But sometimes there are redemptions that are terrible. For example, you can get a $25 Amex gift card for 5,000 points. However, there are some people who have travel cards but don't travel, so using their points for gift cards or to pay for a purchase is a good option, and it's actually really their only option. I also want to mention that I recently transferred 30,000 of my Amex points over to JetBlue, and with these 30,000 points, I'm able to get hundreds of dollars worth of travel, versus if I redeemed it for a gift card, I probably would get much less. This next point really only applies to Capital One. Capital One uses a system called bucketing, in which they place you in a certain bucket the second you apply for a new card. This bucket is based on your credit worthiness as well as the card you are applying for. So if you go to the Capital One website, you can see how they have multiple different versions of the same card. If you apply for a card that is intended for people with poor or fair credit, you may notice that your starting credit limit is very low, and you may notice it's very difficult for you to get credit limit increases. This is because you are in a bucket where Capital One flags you as a risk because of your credit score and history. They aren't going to give you the opportunity to increase your limit because they don't quite trust you. The only way to get out of this bucket is to apply for a whole new card. Applying for a new card that is intended for people with good or excellent credit will get you a higher starting limit and allow you to get higher and more frequent credit limit increases. It's important to make sure you're getting credit limit increases so that you can keep your credit utilization low. Also, whenever you apply for a new credit card, it's not uncommon for the lender to look at your limits on your other cards. They usually give you a credit limit that is similar to your other limits. So to make sure you're always getting approved with a high limit, it's important to get credit limit increases, which can be very difficult to do with Capital One, depending on which card you have. The fifth thing they do not want you to know is sometimes they can and will cancel your card or significantly reduce your credit limit. I have heard so many stories of people who have been carrying high balances on their cards, and the second they paid these cards off, the company either closed their account or significantly reduced their credit limit. On one hand, from the credit card company's perspective, I can see if you're someone who's been carrying a balance for 5 years and you finally pay that balance off, how they would want to prevent you from carrying a balance again in the future, especially if it's for a long period of time, and especially if it was a high balance. On the other hand, if we're looking at it from a human level and thinking with our emotions, sometimes people enter rough patches in life and they need credit cards to survive, just to eat sometimes. So I can understand how you would want to bank with someone or have credit cards with someone who's not just going to kick you to the curb if something happens to you in life and you really need something to lean back on. But this is also just another reminder that no matter how much you love a credit card company, they are always looking out for themselves first, and nothing is set in stone. They can take away your cards at any time, whenever they feel like it, without any warning to you, even if you haven't done anything wrong. The sixth thing they do not want you to know is the simple idea of a credit card for a lot of people is really dangerous. So many studies and reports have come out showing that people spend way more money with their credit cards than they do with cash. And I'm not talking about just $1 or $2 more. People are sometimes spending consistently 100% more on their credit cards than they would with cash. And now credit card companies have so many rewards, benefits, coupons, offers that make you want to spend more on your cards and make it really exciting to spend on your card. So you're wanting to spend more money and buy more things, even if you, one, don't really need them, and two, can't really afford them. It's almost like spending money you don't have is like a sport. It's exciting, it's exhilarating. It's a bonding moment for a lot of people, and it's really sad. For me, when I first started using credit cards, I was in awe of the fact that I could buy something today, and because of the statement period that it's in, I don't have to pay that back for over a month, sometimes almost 2 months. So I would buy stuff that I wouldn't have normally bought just because I knew that I had almost 2 months to pay it back. And it's not a huge problem if you're only buying one thing. Maybe you decided you really want a Snickers bar, maybe you really want an expensive ice cream that you never get to try. But if it's something where it's every single time you go out and you're buying stuff just because you know you have extra time to pay it back, that's when it becomes really dangerous. I'm grateful to have never been in debt and just to be really self-aware and I'm able to hold myself accountable. So for me, that only lasted about 2 or 3 months. And now something that helps me stay on top of my spending and not overspend is giving myself a conscious spending plan, so I know exactly how much money I'm allowed to spend each week. And now this forces me to think about each purchase that I want to make because I know it's taking away from my weekly allowance. And you have to be really strong to do this. Just because you give yourself an allowance doesn't mean you're going to stick to it, but it's something that helps because you can at least visualize the number and there's at least a number in your head versus not knowing what you're allowed to spend, not knowing what you can afford to spend at all. And if you have a really hard time getting your spending under control, I really recommend just canceling all your credit cards. I know they're fun, I know there's rewards and benefits, but the debt, stress, and just the hold that it has over your life, the interest, it's never ever going to be worth it. These credit card companies, and this might be the seventh thing that they don't want you to know, they profit off of your weakness and it affects people's real lives every single day. People die with their debt. It's just a real problem. And again, it's just really, really sad. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.